Hello, welcome to my channel, The Ascension Guide. I'm your guide, Joe Martin. So today's video is kind of all over the place. There's kind of a lot going on right now. I know I haven't made a video in a few days, but kind of a lot's been going on. So first things first, I'm going to start a little bit with my own story of kind of a little bit more of how I got to where I am today and some of the things that have happened to me, just to kind of clear things up for the most recent revelation that has come about, and I'll get to that later in the video, but pretty exciting for me anyway. So anyways, we'll get to it. As many of you know, I started channeling back in July. So I went to do a past life regression session. Through that session, I started channeling my guardian angel, Archangel Ariah, and that's where all of these messages have been coming from. The channeled messages have been coming from them, either through specific channeling sessions or through just communication that we have, throughout the normal day. So going back, I think it was the maybe second or third session that I did. So it kind of explain how my channeling sessions go. It's sort of a hypnosis state. I guess it is a hypnosis state, meditative state, whatever you want to call it. So I go through and, the lady does Reiki on me to kind of get me into that state, get my energy calmed down properly. And then, she kind of takes me like through a garden, and we walk down steps and then go through a door. And that's when everything kind of starts. So as I would walk down these steps, mentally, and go through this, door, I would walk through and I would see different ascended masters. And now this was different every time. Each time I went through, there was something else kind of on the other side, waiting. Sometimes, like I said, it was ascended masters, and they'd always be sitting in the same order. And it was, I believe it was Kali, Krishna, Buddha, someone I still don't know who it is, maybe Muhammad, I'm not exactly sure, and Jesus is always on the right. But anyways, one of the times that I was going through, the message that they showed me was Jesus on the cross. And it was vivid. Like I could see, I wonder if that was my feather that I asked for the other day. I don't know if you saw that just go across the screen. That was interesting. Anyways, I saw I saw him on the cross. I could smell it. I could see the birds on him. It was very vivid. There was people crying, like it was the whole scene. And so that was here. And then off to my right, I just see these hands come through, and they have these scars on them. And, he's showing me these hands. And while I'm in this phase, I'm not actually chanting. I'm assuming I'm in my higher self or something to that effect. So I'm still processing things as myself. And I had, like, I don't know if any of you know my background or anything, but I was never a religious person. I didn't even probably believe in Jesus until July, whenever all this stuff started happening. So anyways, I didn't really fully know who, I knew it was somebody on a cross, and I kind of assumed it was Jesus, but I didn't really understand what was going on. So right after that, Ariah comes through, and they kind of explained the situation to me. And apparently, take everything with a grain of salt, what you will. In one of my past lives, I was John the Baptist, and I was with Jesus, and that was my first kind of seeing him since what had happened. So as they said, it was kind of a reuniting of old friends. And the energy is something totally different. So that was the first time I'd met Jesus. And then at another session, it was one of the close to the last sessions before I finished up the sessions for the book. And as I'm coming out, as we go in, we walk down steps, walk through the door, walk down steps, whatever. Coming out, walk through the door, back up the steps. So I come through the door and I'm about to start walking up the steps, and I hear this voice say, "Call in Jesus." And so I ask, the lady who is doing this to call in Jesus. And he comes in from the right. He always does. And he gave me some messages about, this mission, and going forth and doing good. And yeah, I can't remember exactly all of it. But, along those lines, which was just, extremely humbling. I remember crying, which I'm not a crier, but the times that I've been around Jesus, it's been tough to not to control my emotions. But anyways, after he gives this message, his hands go out like this, and this light begins to come out of his hands towards me. I didn't know what it was, excuse me, but right away, instantly, I remembered there was this picture from when I was a kid at my grandparents' or great grandparents' house. I'm not exactly sure, but my mom remembers it too. And it's a picture of just two hands and light coming out of them. There's no body, nothing else, just two hands. And if any of you have this picture and you could send it, that would be amazing, because I've been trying to look for it online and I can't find it anywhere. And I've told people about it and they keep telling me it's this really famous painting, but I can't find it anywhere. So if you know about it or anything, please send it to me. I'd love to see it again and see if it's the same picture I'm remembering from my childhood. I mean, this is, 3-4 years old, maybe I was. But anyways, I had remembered this scene with the light coming out. And, as a kid, I saw this picture and I just thought it was kind of more metaphorical instead of literal. But I mean, I'm literally seeing Jesus with his hands out and light coming out of him towards me. And the lady going through, she knew what was happening because she had been through something similar before. And she says, "Oh, he's attuning you." Now, for those of you who don't know, an attunement is a Reiki attunement, essentially. So I know really nothing about Reiki. I know my wife's been through it. She's level 2. I know the lady who went through, she's a master and she does the holy fire and UC Reiki or USI. I'm not even totally sure how you say it. Anyways, so there's the traditional, I guess, Reiki, the Japanese Reiki, the UC, and then I think there's 2 different ones. Forgive me for mispronouncing them. And then there's the holy fire Reiki, which the attunement for the other types, the Japanese traditional USI, whatever, the attunements can be given by anybody who has access to that energy, essentially. And from what I understand about the holy fire Reiki, or this energy, is it can only be attuned by Jesus. So I got this attunement. We were there for, I don't even know how long, maybe a good half hour going through this and getting messages. And so after that session, I really, I didn't know what to do. I didn't know how Reiki even works. I mean, other than I've had Reiki done a couple of times to me, but I didn't know how to use it or what to do with it. So I started asking questions and I talked to her, and I had done, a session on her to kind of practice, and started to find out that it's a little bit more than the typical Reiki. So as this energy flows through me, one of the things that they first told me in one of my very first channeling sessions is, and I may have mentioned this in one of my videos before, that I'm an amplifier. So it doesn't matter which energy is coming through me, I'm going to amplify it one way or the other. So if it's the negative get a hold of me, I'm going that direction. If it's positive, I'm amplifying that direction. So with that being said, I was thinking more of just my mood, whenever they had told me this originally, like, my energy, I'm either happy or I'm mad, basically, and I'm projecting that, and people can feel my aura. And that's, it's about as far as I understood it or took it. And then getting this attunement kind of changed everything. And that's really where the amplification comes in of energy. And so normally when you do Reiki, you're a conduit. You're allowing that energy to flow through you. You're tapping into it. You're bringing it down from the divine, and you're allowing it to flow through that person to help them. What I do is I tap into that same energy, and it comes through me, and I amplify it, and also with my intent. And I see different things in my mind. I sometimes see your past traumas. Sometimes I see loved ones. Sometimes I see your energy and how it's stagnated, or it has dark spots in it that need to be moved, or your chakras need to be open, or what it's kind of been different for everybody. And I haven't done it to a ton of different people, but the messages that I've got are that it's going to be a unique experience for everyone, depending on what they need. So I was still a little bit confused about that. And here's part of the reason why is when I do it, my body shakes like crazy. Like it's an intense shaking, and it's the amplification of that energy coming through. And when I'm talking to the lady who was there and experienced this with me, she was basically, kind of confused and saying, you're not supposed to shake, you're supposed to use any of your own energy. And I think you need to meditate and talk to Jesus and ask him, basically what's going on with this and is everything going okay? And so I was like, I guess a little bit concerned because I mean, it's like I know it works. I've had the validation from other people and the things that they've experienced. But I'm like, well, is it my energy? Am I doing this? Was this some kind of misunderstanding or, whatever it is? So, anyways, I meditated, I called in Jesus, and as always, he comes in from the right. And we had quite the conversation that has led to where I'm at today. And this was just maybe a week or two ago that this happened. I haven't posted a video since. I've kind of been contemplating how to do this, and what I wanted to do is with a lot of this information, I don't know how people are going to receive it, which I know I shouldn't care about, but it's still weird to me at times. I'm still kind of coming to grips with it. Like I said, I really didn't believe in Jesus until this happened. I didn't believe in a lot of things until I felt them and experienced them for myself. And which is funny because, I talked to some of my friends and they're like, is this the same guy? We've had conversations and I'm like, I know, I get it. But I still have my line drawn in the sand with religion. And that's where it's kind of hard for me is, the Jesus that I've met and understand, and the Jesus that's in the Bible, and religious Jesus, and the distinction between those two. Anyhow, so when I met with him in this meditation session, I asked about all these things, and I said, why do I shake? And they explained the amplification, and it made sense to me because I had channeled that months before about me being an amplifier, and now it just made sense as to how that applies to the bigger picture and what's going on in this healing process. They said that if I did Reiki, distance healing or whatever else, it's basically the same energy being sent. So there's the amplification. They made clear and said it over and over and over again, the laying on of the hands, similar to how Jesus did. And they told me that this is the same healing that Jesus was doing. Obviously, I'm not at that level yet, but they said that that's where we're progressing towards, is the same things that he was doing. And so look forward to being able to help people in that regard. But this also led me to, I'm going to check my notes here real quick and just make sure I covered everything from that session, because this was, like I said, a few weeks ago, and I just want to make sure that, so they said it's my gift to share with the world. And obviously I'm not here to proclaim that I can heal anything or do anything like that, but I do have the sort of confidence to be able to do those things. And I don't want to set any expectations for anybody who comes to me as, for this type of therapy or whatever you want to call it. But, that's kind of why the way I need to look at it is, the difference between being confident and cocky, and the energy coming through, my ability to kind of see the problem with the energy and focus that intent, and all these things are just the distinction between regular Reiki and kind of this gift that I've been bestowed upon. So I think that's it from there. The other question that was asked was, with this, process, there's this fear of taking on negative energy, which has happened to me before, not through Reiki, but through other, avenues of doing things and being around people, whatever. And so the interesting thing is, Jesus said to set the intention that any negative energy that, comes to you, not negative in the sense that it's not for your greatest and highest good, not polarity negative. But any negative energy that comes to you, its intent, you set the intent that when it comes to you, it is doing so to transmute into love. And this can be carried out to everybody. This is something that everybody can do to protect yourself from negative energies. So you set your intention that if negative energies come to you to attach to you, they're coming to do so to transmute into love. And I thought that was a really cool message to not only for myself to protect myself, but cool to share with everybody else so that they can protect themselves as well. And so that was the kind of talking to Jesus and sort of getting some clarifications. Then I went and was supposed to have another channeling session and ended up the lady and I just talking for a few hours and kind of clarifying some things and getting some answers on our own, and just talking through some stuff because we hadn't channeled in a while. And through that process, her and I are pretty in tune, and we get messages as we're kind of sitting there talking at times too. And the message came through that sort of this process that I've been going through, starting with Ariah, was kind of to lead me up to communicating more with Jesus and having a relationship with Jesus. And so they said that I will be starting to channel Jesus more. Ariah will still give their messages and stuff too. But that so what happens, and someone made a video the other day that I was watching, and it was kind of interesting to hear, and it made sense to me. But when people first start channeling, a lot of times they start to channel their higher dimensional beings, but not like 12th dimension or really high, energy realms. The separation between vibration is so great that you have to bridge that gap. They both ways, right? So their energy is way up here, ours is down here. We kind of meet in the middle. And so you kind of see where if you're way down here, you're going to need somebody who's, fifth, sixth dimension to kind of close that gap, I guess. So Jesus, same way, except I was closing it. Ariah claims to be 12th dimensional being. And so they were closing that gap for me to have more communication with Jesus. And so after that session, I went home and contacted Jesus, went to my meditation and did my had a little channeling session. So just to draw the distinction in case so when I do my meditation and channel, I'm receiving the messages and, kind of having a mental conversation telepathically, I suppose is how it's working. And, writing down the information that I get as best I remember it, as clear as I can. So I kind of think that, for me, there's like 3 different ways that I channel. There's the, hypnotic state channeling. And then there's my conscious, just getting messages where, there's a little bit of back and forth, but it's usually more they just show something to me or answer a question or something out of the blue or whatever, or give me a message. And then I have like my meditative state where I'm connected more and I can kind of interact more, but it's hard for me to always remember when I come out the things that happen. So I've been trying to take notes, and I even tried automatic writing, which just turned into scribble, but trying to keep it so I can remember more. When I do the hypnotic state, we always record everything, so I have everything exactly as it was said. And in the meditative state, I kind of have to put the pieces together. So you have to forgive me if they're not exactly as clear as the other messages. But anyways, so when I went into this communication with Jesus and had this channeling session, I had a few questions, and actually about Christmas time and his thoughts on it and how his involvement and whatever else. I got some interesting answers. So first thing, take everything as it resonates with you. This is the information that I got, just presenting it as I was told. Doesn't mean it's right, doesn't mean it's wrong. I don't know for sure, but this is what I was told. Jesus was actually born in August. His soul energy was able to come through the Lion's Gate portal, which is around August, which he said, interestingly enough, that's also when my soul came through, was in that portal in 84, obviously, a few years later. But yeah, the energy for the souls to come through and to incarnate, they needed that portal, apparently, is how I'm understanding it. But then I asked, well, if you were born in August, then what's with Christmas being in December and, them celebrating your birth December 25th and blah, blah, blah. And he said what happened was that in the attempt to sort of bring people to Christianity, they hijacked the pagan holiday that, was where most of the tradition of Christmas comes from. And said that it was Christ's birthday so that they could convert people to Christianity easier, with the, coincidence of them having the same, commonalities in those things. So it was more of a converting to Christianity thing than it was any truth to the, the whole Christian Christmas that it's kind of evolved into. And then I asked about the virgin birth, and this was kind of interesting too. They said the virgin birth meant that Mary's soul had to be pure, not necessarily that she was a virgin in the way that we think of, but that she was incorruptible. That, and they asked me, they were like, and I keep saying they, I'm getting mixed up with Ariah. So Jesus asked me, um, how much money would it take for you to do something awful, something, that goes against your morals? And I said, none. There's no, my morals are my morals. I'm not able to be bought. And he said, exactly. That's the type of soul that had to be used, for him to come through and to experience and do the things that he did. And so that's what they meant by the virgin birth. And so I said, well, was she a virgin? And he said, well, until they had sex. So I thought that was kind of funny. So not a virgin in the sense that we totally understand, but the purity of consciousness, the purity, the incorruptibility of the soul is what they were talking about. What else did I ask about? Oh, the Christmas spirit. And so I asked, is that a real thing? And I had touched on this similarly to the, I made a video about Halloween, asking about the veil being thinner on October 31st, as a lot of people anticipate or say that it is. And the answer I kind of got with the Christmas spirit is, it's what do you believe? If you believe in the Christmas spirit and the magic, of Christmas, that you kind of feel that, spirit in the air, then yeah, it exists, and you create it and you make it what it is. But then they said, he said that there is the flip side of that also, where, Christmas is, a tragic time for others. And I was like, oh, duality, I get it. And he was like, no, you really don't. And then he showed me, and this was such a cool image, because it was basically a Christmas tree in the middle, but that was the metaphor for Christmas. And then there were all of these coins, two-sided coins standing, if you can imagine, like a quarter standing on its side, and they were just standing all around their side, lining up all the way around this Christmas tree. And he said, this is what duality is. And so he said, you have a coin, and this is all talking, just about Christmas, where you have the kid who gets everything they want on Christmas, and it brings this immense amount of joy, which raises the vibration. And then that kid grows up to be a greedy individual who doesn't appreciate things. There's one coin. You have another coin where you give a kid who gets all of these gifts and brings joy, and then they grow up to appreciate it, and then they spread joy and do the same thing. There's two coins. And then you can go all the way around to the person who has lost family members on Christmas time, or was never neglected on Christmas time, and you have those coins, and there's just this, it brings about this huge understanding of this one topic that normally we only see from our own perspective. And that's one thing that I just think is so amazing when I talk to these higher dimensional beings, is their perspective, and being able to see all the different sides. And like I said, we're thinking of duality as this two-sided coin, and we're able to see that it's a coin. And duality is all of these different coins with all of these different sides of all of these different aspects, depending on your perspective, looking at these different situations or what have you. So I thought that was a very interesting answer about that. And it kind of tied into, I said, well, how does it make you feel with you being associated with it? And he said this, basically the same thing. He said, you can look at it from all different aspects, the joy that it brings people, or you can see the other side where some people it's heartbreaking during Christmas, or, even going a step further where, people almost make themselves sick and put themselves under immense stress and all these other things to try to make Christmas perfect and to get everybody the perfect gift. And they're running around making themselves in debt and going broke and stressing themselves out. And he's like, that's not it, not to judge anybody or not to, but that should never be it. We should always be about balance and doing what we can. If we're bending over backwards and we're going into debt and all these other things for a holiday that's really been hijacked in a lot of ways into a consumerism holiday, that's really, we're kind of missing the point. It's more about the gratitude and the spirit, and loving one another, and having the that feeling in the air when you drive around and the Christmas lights are on, and whatever else, like that's more of it than the gifts and everything else. And like I said, you understand the other side too, of the joy that it brings a child when they come down and see the Christmas tree. But I think it's important too that we also teach our children and make sure that they understand and appreciate those things, and don't just take for granted, and think that every year I deserve a new iPad or something like that. Like it's supposed to be a reward for you being a good kid all year, right? That's where Santa Claus comes in and all that thing. um Anyways, I digress. But yeah, so I just thought it was very interesting to hear all the different sides, and see that image of all the different sides of duality, and how there's so many different perspectives that can be looked upon and called upon. And not any of them is right or wrong, but it just depends on your perspective and kind of what has happened to you, um to give you the feelings that you do about the certain holidays or whatever it is. So I'm trying to just remember if there was anything else that was important from that session, and I'm pretty sure I covered everything. So anyways, the big news for me, the announcement is communicating with Jesus, and pretty excited about that. The energy is quite something for those of you who've experienced it. And I would imagine that I'm still going to be getting messages from Ariah as well, but there will be, I'll have a new playlist now, I guess, of channel messages from Jesus as well. So, all right, this is a little bit of a long video, but a lot of information coming out. I'm excited for going forward to see where this leads. And one last thing, actually, I wanted to, this is unrelated to channeling, but it just occurred to me, and I wanted to ask if anybody else has had anything like this. I normally don't remember any of my dreams. I don't even know that I normally dream all the time. Maybe I do, maybe I don't, but I don't remember one way or the other. But yesterday I did wake up and remembered one of my dreams, and it's kind of concerning me just because I've heard similar things from other people within the last couple of days. My wife, I told her about it, and she found a couple things online that were similar, and I'm like, uh-oh, I hope I'm not predicting something. Anyways, I'll just tell you my dream, and I would like to know if anybody else has heard anything similar to this, so that I hope it's not true. But anyway, I had a dream. I was on the coast somewhere. I want to, it was East Coast, maybe like New England-ish, somewhere up north. And we were on like top of like a cliff, and there was a beat, the water down below. And all of a sudden, all these ships showed up and started firing missiles towards the mainland, and we were getting invaded. And the best I could make out, it seemed Russian and Chinese to me. I won't go into too much more detail about the dream, but essentially that was it. And I have heard other people talking about these Russian or Chinese ships or different things, missiles, stuff like that. So just curious if anybody else out there has had any similar dreams or premonitions, or heard anybody else talk about these things. If you wouldn't mind comment about that below, or sending me an email. Just kind of curious if there's other stuff like that going on out there. I really hope I'm not predicting anything because I am really hoping that we are able to change the course of this towards a nonviolent revolution. I think that's the key to all of this, but I do understand that things aren't perfect and they could get messy along the way. So just curious how that goes. So if anybody has any information, like I said, please email me or put a comment below. And as always, I love hearing from you guys. So if you have any questions or comments unrelated to this video, or anything else that you would like to ask, always feel free to send me an email or leave me a comment, and I'll do my best to answer. And if you haven't already, please go ahead and like and subscribe. It definitely shows that you're, resonating with the messages that I put out there, and gives me reason to go ahead and keep doing this. So I appreciate all of you. And until the next video, love and light.